The Holy Book, Sefer Kav Hayashar, Episode 6, Lesson 6. One who comes to purify himself, heaven helps him. Shabbos 104a. The idea of this dictum is that whenever a person looks to perform a mitzvah, or when he travels along the road engrossed in study, although he is alone, he is joined by numerous souls of the righteous. Thus the Zohar relates in Bereshis Introduction 5a. Rabbi Lazar once went to visit his father-in-law, Rabbi Yosei ben Lekanya, accompanied by Rabbi Abba. Meanwhile, another man loaded their donkeys and came after them. Rabbi Abba said, "Let us begin studying Torah, for it is time to prepare for the way." So they began exchanging Torah insights. Then the fellow leading the donkeys revealed to them a number of esoteric Torah insights, and Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Abba came and kissed him, saying, "Who are you that you walk around with all this wisdom in your hands while leading the donkeys after us?" He answered, "My masters do not ask me who I am. Let us just go along engaging in study." And he continued revealing to them esoteric insights into the Torah. They said to him, "Who compelled you to come here and load donkeys?" Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Abba rejoiced and wept, saying, "Go ride, and we will lead the donkeys after you." Then they said to him, "See here, you have not even told us your name, nor where your home is located." He said to them, "My home is in a good place. It is in a certain tower in which the Holy One, blessed is He, resides, along with a certain poor man," an allusion to the Mashiach, who is called a poor man riding upon a donkey. "This is my home. But I went up from that place, and now I am loading donkeys." Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Abba wept and kissed him and then went on, while he continued revealing to them additional insights. Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Abba fell upon their faces, and when they arose, they no longer saw the man. They looked in every direction but did not see him. They sat and wept and were unable to speak to one another for a long time. Finally, Rabbi Abba said, "Surely this is an illustration of what we learned, that whenever the righteous travel along the road speaking words of Torah, tzaddikim come to them from the upper world." Surely this was Rabbi Hamnuna, the elder, who came to us from the world to reveal to us these things, and afterwards he disappeared from our sight. From here we have proof that the souls of the righteous join with those involved in the performance of a mitzvah or in Torah study. It is worth remembering that every meritorious reflection or thought has the effect of eliciting holy illumination from on high. But meritorious speech, such as engaging in study while on the road, has an even great effect. It even brings benefit to banished souls. Some of these souls are banished to such an extent that they are reincarnated in the form of vegetation or the fruits of the earth and trees. When a person recites a blessing over that fruit or engages in study, those souls are clothed in the meritorious words, and in this way they are released from the cycle of reincarnation. Another principle to be derived from the passage from the Zohar is the importance of clinging to scholars and accompanying them along the way to listen to their words of Torah. For the Shekhinah dwells among the upright while they are alive and even after their deaths. Thus we see that in earlier generations, people were very concerned about the site in which they would be buried. Yaakov Avinu, for example, instructed, "And I will lie with my father, and you shall bury me in their burial place." Bereshis 47.30. The reason for this is that the souls of the dead hover over their graves and are taught each night esoteric insights from the heavenly yeshiva. Sefer Hasidim 705 relates an incident involving a certain tzaddik who was buried among the wicked. Every night he would appear to his friends and relations, crying out to them in tearful voice and begging to be moved from there. He explained that because he was buried among the wicked, the heavenly yeshiva refused to reveal to him any secrets of the Torah. As a result, his soul is becoming increasingly desiccated until no moisture remained. He gave his relatives no rest until at last they were forced to exhume him from his grave and bury him elsewhere. This is why the pious of early generations in Eretz Yisrael were accustomed to purchase a lot in the cemetery during their lifetimes, in the vicinity of individuals who they knew would be righteous. They would then come to that spot from time to time to pray and to recite a few words of Torah and make a pledge of charity. In this way, they purified and sanctified the spot, preparing it to serve as their grave. The sanctity with which they imbued it also prevented the Sitra Achra from being able to approach them after their deaths. Another illustrative account in this same vein is that of the pious Rabbi Amram. Rabbi Amram was originally from Mainz, a large city on the Rhine. At some point, Rabbi Amram left Mainz to help strengthen the yeshiva of Cologne. When he was very old, he instructed his students that after his death, they should bury him in the cemetery of Mainz, where his fathers were buried, next to the grave of Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid. His students replied that such an undertaking would involve great danger and risk. Therefore, Rabbi Amram said to them, "Just purify me and place my body in a coffin along with a letter stating that the deceased was the great Rabbi Amram." Afterwards, they were to place the coffin upon a small raft on the river and allow it to drift on its own. Upon his death, the students fulfilled their master's request, placing his body on a pram on the river. The boat immediately began drifting with the current until it came to the vicinity of the city of Mainz, whereupon it stopped still in the water. This sight astonished the townspeople, who informed the Lord Mayor. The Lord Mayor commanded some boatmen to go out and fetch the pram and bring it in. But when the sailors reached the boat with the coffin, it lurched backwards, so they were unable to grab hold of it. The Lord Mayor then told his servants that it appeared that the boat contained the body of a Jew wishing to be buried in their country. So he commanded that some Jews be summoned to fetch it. When the Jews reached the bank of the river, the boat immediately began to draw nearer. They opened the coffin and found the letter that had been placed there by Rab Amram's students. However, in it, they found it written in the following message. "My brothers and friends of the holy community of Mainz, know that I have come to you because I have passed from this world in the city of Cologne, and I request of you that you bury me alongside my fathers in the city of Mainz. May all you be blessed with life and peace." Thus says Amram. When the Jews from the town saw this letter, they unloaded the coffin of the boat, intending to bury him in his family plot as per his instructions. However, the Lord Mayor instructed his servants not to allow the Jews to take the corpse to burial. Instead, all the non-Jewish residents of the town gathered to take the body away from the Jewish community by force, and they posted guards to prevent any Jews from coming near the coffin. Afterwards, they built over an edifice for their own false worship, which is called to this day the House of Rabbi Amram. When the Jews saw this, they were filled with sorrow and expended lavish sums in attempts to retrieve the coffin. But their efforts were in vain, and at last they knew of no further avenues to try. Every night, Rab Amram would appear to a number of his disciples and plead, "Take me out of here and bury me with my fathers." So the disciples took counsel together and went out of the city limits that night to the place where the thief had recently been hung. They took down his body and wrapped it in burial garments. Then they secreted out the body of the pious Rabbi Amram and replaced it with the body of the thief. Meanwhile, Providence caused a deep sleep to fall upon the guards, so they did not notice a thing. At last, Rabbi Amram was buried with his fathers. Hashem was with them, and nothing was known of the matter to the people of the town until this day. Until here is taken from the Yiddish version. If it is true that the place of a person's burial is so important after his death, as illustrated by the accounts above, consider how important it must be to a person where he situates himself among the good company while he is alive. Thus, in former times, it was the custom of the men of Jerusalem that they would refuse to sit either in a court or in a feast until they knew with whom they would be sitting. Sanhedrin 24a. For the celebrations of frivolous people lead to many evils, such as talebearing and mockery, especially among the gluttonous and the intoxicated. A person should also recite this prayer: "May it be your will to save me this day from an evil person, from evil happenstance, and from evil companion." This is in order that he will not join the wicked or the sinners or with the groups of treacherous who gather to engage in bickering and quarreling. Their mouths are sharp swords, and their curses, insults, and blasphemies are like hot coals. The fire of Gehenna burns within them, inflaming their quarrels and contentions. Their thoughts are entirely for evil. Even when they are in shul, they are filled with deceit, inventing pretexts against the upright to adhere to Hashem's ways in order to do them harm. Woe to them and woe to their souls, for the day will come suddenly when the wheel will turn against them, and heaven's judgment will overwhelm them, stripping them of all their possessions. They will become objects of contempt and disgrace, but no one will have pity upon them because of heaven's harsh decree. Let those who fear Hashem and who tremble at his word distance themselves from such people and from their gatherings and their tumult. Let the upright not heed their advice nor accompany them, and certainly not join with them. Instead, let them cling to the love of Hashem and to the God-fearing and to those who tremble at his word. From such individuals they can learn the path of life. Concerning this was it written, "And as for you who cling to Hashem your God, you are all alive this day." Devarim 4.4.